there's coffee in that nebula.
How you doing, fellas?
Oh, shit. Hi,
That's no decaf, is it?
Viennese cinnamon.
There's coffee in that nebula.
In that nebula. Engage. That's what this show's studio would be like if we all did it from the same studio. I'm assuming that I would be one of the aliens.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now just imagine this whole technical process is a goddamn miracle. I'm in LA. Where the fuck are you, Gerry? You're in flyover country.
I'm in the Midwest.
Martine is in Mexico. John is, well, who the hell cares where John is? Anyway, here we are. All of us joined by the miracle of American technology. It's fantastic. I'm done.
I can't complain. I like it.
I'm done.
You're done. Well, it is Wednesday, hump day. I mean, technically every day is hump day to me. So I won't explain that. Fuck it. I'm having me some delicious breakfast beverage. And it looks like Penny is here with us in the chat. Andy Morrow, Anima Confusa, Slasher Fred's already here. Let's see who else. Dragon Ruse is here. And Jennifer Bailey is a new member who joined us just the other day for the first time. And it's really nice to see everybody. And everybody in KGRA land, too.
Jennifer Bailey? She took my beagle's name?
Maybe. Or maybe she already had it. I don't know. Monkey Jeebus is here, too. Good morning. And beware the blob. It creeps. It leaps. It slides around the wall and splotch and blotch, and careful to the blob. I actually love that song. The original film with Steve McQueen. And I actually have that movie. I have both versions of the blob. I think that the sequel or remake that was done in the 90s was actually a way better film. What do you guys think? Did you like that?
It doesn't have Steve McQueen in it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But neither did any of his ex-wives after he died.
That's true. Yeah, you got a point.
Poor John. Like, fuck, Gerry went there.
Of course Gerry went there. Gerry always goes there. I just expect it. It's just gonna happen.
Yeah, and yes, Slasher Fred. Yeah, it's true. Slasher Fred, you are correct. It was made in the 80s. It was 86, I think. 87, something like that.
Wasn't Karen Black in that, or am I thinking of something else?
I can't remember everybody that was in it. I only remember that it was Matt Dillon's ugly little brother, Kevin, was the main character. He was the tough kid. And, Terry O'Quinn is in it, right? Is it Terry O'Quinn in that?
Yeah, I think so.
Who plays the sheriff? So somebody like that plays the sheriff. It was an actor like him if it wasn't him. I like that film. Then Night of the Creeps kind of had the same feel. If everybody remembers that movie. Those little slug-like aliens.
Yeah.
Take over a sorority house and a fraternity. You thought that Don was in Korea. That's what Mads told me. And haven't seen Mad in a while, man. I see him online. He just, I don't know, he just fades into the background. But Chuck Russell was the director. That's right. But the Steve McQueen movie was kind of a vehicle for him to launch his career. And it worked. That between that and Went to Dead or Alive really set him in the right direction. And I almost, because he kind of sabotaged his show to get it. Was it The Great Escape, wasn't it, Don? He sabotaged his show so he could get that part in The Great Escape.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it ended up costing him his show.
I had to make a technical adjustment there. Our glorious, dedicated producer gave me a hint, and I checked, and she was right. Of course she was right.
She usually knows what she's talking about.
That's why she's the producer.
Yeah, there you go. And, sadly, I wasn't even aware there was a conversation going on because I'm focusing on...
You're usually oblivious anyway.
I'm oblivious because I'm paying attention to what's going on in the chat. Night of the Creeps had Suzanne Snyder, who also appeared in Killer Clowns from Outer Space. Another fucking favorite movie of mine. I'm so excited it was greenlit for their sequel. It only took them 30 years. But the Chiodo brothers are back. A lot of people don't know that, in the interim, after Critters, because they worked on all the Critters all the way up into the 2000s, and then they just sort of faded, disappeared. And I'm friends with two of them. But what they ended up doing, a lot of people didn't know this, was Team America. They were the ones who did all those cool little marionettes and all the effects for that movie. And everybody, Trey Parker, Matt Stone, and the Chiodo brothers agreed, we are never going to do that again. It was like a nightmare working with miniatures, full set miniatures, puppets, crazy shit. Funny movie, though. Hilarious. America, fuck yeah. Come to save the motherfucking day, yeah. Every army buddy of mine loves that fucking song. It's meant to be silly. It's not scary. It's a silly sci-fi movie that's got cool effects in it. They got little popcorn that are little creatures, and you throw the popcorn on people, and it starts eating them. It's really gross. The whole movie. Very cool film. Killer Clowns from Outer Space.
Yep.
What's this? Chiodo Brothers also did the Large Marge, Fax and Pee-wee's Big Adventure. That's right. And a lot of people don't know that they got their start under Spielberg. I'm assuming also with Lucas, but I only knew about their work with Spielberg.
Mark Center's in the chat.
Hey, Mark, are you going to join us or
bring him on board?
Yeah, let me send you an invite. Shit, I always forget what he goes by now on Twitter. I mean, on Facebook. I got to find him. Let's see. I'm very stoked, by the way, about the Blade Runner show. There he is. The Blade Runner show this week or next week. We've got some of the crew that worked on the film is going to be joining us, including Paul Salmon, the author of Future Noir, The Making of Blade Runner. He's the guy that inspired me to do what I did with Blade Zone and continues to inspire Gerry, who now runs it, been running it for 20 years. Very excited about that, man. Vicky's going to be there. She was the DGA trainee on first unit for Blade Runner. First unit. She has some great Harrison Ford stories that are hilarious. Like the day that they disappeared off set with him chasing her around the studio, playing tag, yelling, "You're still, what is it? You're still in my eyesight." It's something eyeline when you're talking on set. If somebody is distracting, the thing you're supposed to say is, "You're in my eyeline." So he chased her around the studio for like 20 minutes, kept yelling that at her. And they ended up on like old Warner Studios in some of the offices, and she was hiding, giggling like a little schoolgirl. and he snuck up on her. I love her stories. Let's see. Michael Moore blows himself up on the base. Yeah, I love that. Michael Moore dies in that movie. That was great. It's not the only time they've killed idiots in Trey Parker, Matt Stone. They also killed Bill Gates in South Park's Bigger, Longer, and Uncut movie. They couldn't say kill him, but they were allowed to shoot him. So they shot Bill Gates on the show. It's like, what the fuck? So Lady V is here too. We got good representation from England. Oh, I did? Look, man, you expect me to be good at what I do? Mark? There. I sent him a video link. Yeah, I want you to watch that video before you come on, Mark. I sent him that video of what if Rammstein had done Every Breath You Take by the Police. It's a fucking cool video. But there, I got you the right video link this time, Mark. So he's not going to watch it, he said.
Hey, Chris is in the chat.
Hey, Mark, you don't want to watch Rammstein's version of Every Breath You Take, huh?
Testing.
You are here. We see you now. Do you have your papers? Wo ist das papers? My girlfriend's like,
They shut our power down to 1,300 houses last night. 3 a.m. the power for 1,300 houses.
I'm assuming you're in California then.
Absolute.
How far away from dawn?
Yes.
Are you far away, or are you like within a drive?
90 minutes?
That's a drive. Yeah. That's about as close as John and I are. Dust Wolfen in the corner here.
Yeah.
We're about 90 minutes apart.
Or 2 hours, but yeah.
But we're going to be talking about the Blob today. Not the movie, but the episode of...
Well, before we go there, I got to tell Mark. Mark, I watched Sisu last night. All I'm going to say is, oh my God.
Mark, are you hearing us okay? Nah, you're muted. You muted yourself. You mute. Why do I feel like we're talking to Tracy Torme now? I love Tracy Torme, man. That guy is like so awesome, but he is like technologically retarded. He's just like worst
beyond
internet
retarded.
connection.
He's beyond retarded. Beyond.
So, can you hear me okay?
Now
Yes.
we can.
Now we can, Mark.
Okay. Yes, Don, you watched Sisu last night. What did you think?
All I can say is, oh my God. I'll talk to you. I'll talk to you more about it later.
Of course.
Yeah, and it's funny. You sent me that link, and I'm like, dude, I already downloaded it, an HD copy from the actual server. So I'm like, yeah, I couldn't watch it last night. Too much stuff going on. I'm going to be watching it tonight after our second show.
Yeah, that's great.
I'm looking forward to seeing it.
That's like my friends from the 70s when I would give them free pot. They go, oh, yeah, thanks for the bunk pot. Oh, yeah, okay. Thanks.
Bunk pot?
Thanks for the free movie, jerk.
You keep using the word. I don't think it means what you think it means.
No, I don't. So did you have a chance to watch the stuff that I sent you about Skinwalker?
Yes.
Yeah.
Great. Excellent. So continue.
Well, this episode, Dawn, you watched it, right? What did you think of some of the stuff they saw?
Okay, look. Boy, am I going to get my ass in trouble now.
Uh-oh.
I got to tell you, number one, have no doubt that some strange things happened out at the ranch, Skinwalker Ranch in Utah over the years. No doubt whatsoever. There are legends going back centuries with the Native Americans talking about that place. And if you're from Rio Linda, okay, Native Americans, that means Indians. But that being said, but when you get down right to it, what's happening now in my book is basically a 3-ring commercial circus. Okay. Now, you got to understand a lot of my ideas about this thing are colored by my life experience. And a large part of my life experience connected to when I was a criminal investigator. Now, whenever I would talk to somebody as a cop on the street, okay, just automatically, the first thing I would do would be observe their body actions, okay? I'd want to know, is this person, are they nervous? If they are, why? Is it because I'm a cop? Are they trying to hide something? Whatever. Now, with that being said, I've been doing this UFO horse shit for well over 30 years. And over those 30 years, I have talked to and interviewed thousands of people, going from NASA, the U.S. government, the military, the intelligence people, all the way down to Joe Sixpack, okay, out on the street. And in that period of time, I have a pretty good feel for the field. And when my buddy John Brandenburg originally contacted me several years ago, wanting to talk about the ranch, he wanted to tell me about Travis Taylor. Now, Travis Taylor is now a well-known media personality. And hey, that's great. Hell, 25, 30 years ago, I was a pretty well-known media personality. I was doing a hell of a lot of TV. And he was doing a hell of a lot of TV because of his technical background, his expertise, his PhDs. But then something happened to him out on the ranch, allegedly, during some of his investigation after he got pulled into that case, where he was irradiated to the point, according to Brandenburg, when the man urinated, he was urinating blood. Now, that in itself is an indicator of radiation poisoning. So, obviously, the first thing that came to my mind was, oh my God, I got to interview this guy. So, I told Brandenburg, who knew Travis Taylor, contacted him. Taylor knew who I was. My name is fairly well known. And he said, sure, tell him to contact me. And he gave John his cell phone number to give me and his email address. So I called him and I wrote him. Waited a week and a half, nothing. So I called him again and I wrote him. Another week or two goes by, nothing. Now, when I was a cop and somebody, a CI or whatever, I let them know I wanted to talk to them. Cool. Okay, here I am. But if they avoided me, then that told me something else was up. Taylor avoided me. Now, then I discovered that I believe it was the Washington Post newspaper had some reporters that wanted to interview Travis Taylor. He avoided them. Now, I've been doing this job long enough that I can read the signs. I've been to 2 goat ropings and a county fair in my time, so I have been around. And that told me that this guy doesn't want to be asked direct questions. Now, from that point forward, I got to tell you, my attitude toward this whole thing solidified. I'm not saying it's all horse shit or bullshit, but I think a lot of it is, because what are they doing? They're making an entertainment television program. This is not a scientific research project. This is fucking entertainment. So, what do you got to have in entertainment? You got to have drama. And a lot of it is manufactured drama. Like a year or two ago, when I saw one of those guys that's on every week, what's his name? Dragon, walking around dragging his AR-15 rifle. Holy shit. Okay. This was bullshit. Now, I've carried guns for years. I've been in a lot of places where I had to have a lot of guns. But I looked at this guy and I'm thinking to myself, we've got us a wannabe. Okay. A wannabe. You know what a wannabe is? Well, it's somebody that never could be, but he's a wannabe. So there you go. And I got to say, you know, Gary, and I know that there's things about this program that you really like, but I got to tell you, buddy, there's a lot of it that I'm just going to soon let pass right over me.
Well, the one thing that I still stand by is that the agreement for doing the show was that there is to be no funny editing, that there is to be no visual effects or sound effects or alteration of anything they see and experience. So when you see the objects, are you laughing at me or something somebody said?
I'm laughing at your assumption that there'll be no editing through omission.
Well, I'm not saying I never said that.
Well,
omitting something.
That's editing.
No, what was said in the statement that was made was that there would be no editing where things were put in different positions. Like the common thing, because I'm an editor, the common thing that's done in editing for drama is to take reactions out of context. It's constantly done. Sure. Something done, then all of a sudden everybody turns dramatically. They said none of that. There will be none of that. They said that anything that's in the sky will not be manipulated through video editing or visual effects. So the only effects that are allowed on the show have to be clearly, obviously marked as, 3D terrain, all that stuff. Whenever they have something, they're going to explain how something will work. They'll use a visual diagram done through CG. The rest of it, the drama that goes on there, I don't know how much of that might be scripted. I know that I think it's really weird when you have a show that's about research that takes regular breaks from doing that research because they're not filming. And I'm like, that's odd. It seems to me if I were going to be doing research, there would be somebody there researching all the time. 24/7, 7 days a week. I think that's odd. And that's where I think some of it gets manufactured is in the drama. I don't like that Dragon dude. Not making a personal judgment on him, but as a character on a show, he does come off as a wannabe. I don't know. I also think that former military guy that saw the Skinwalker that they had on, it sets off my alarms, these guys. But I do know that a lot of the medical stuff that's happened on the show was real. I know he got burned, but we don't know what burned him. We just know he got burned. I think that Bigelow knows what's going on there, and I think the current owner, what's his name, knows what's going on there.
Brandon
because
Brandon
you
Fugel, yeah.
disclosure occurs when you purchase a major property like that. Disclosure has to be made. And especially when you've got one big guy, Bigelow, selling to him, I'm like, there's no way that he wasn't made aware of what's underneath that mesa.
Well, here's something everybody should be aware of. And if you're not, hang on, because I'm going to tell you. When Brandon Fugel originally bought that from Bigelow, his intention and purpose, his intention and purpose was to make, listen to me closely, a paranormal Disney World.
Yep.
Okay? This is what he wanted to turn this into, a freaking tourist attraction.
A New Mexico Roswell.
Yeah, New Mexico Roswell. By the way, Jeebus, he carries his weapon like a recruit that's not been trained yet how to hold his weapon. That's what he carries it like. Dragon doesn't look like he's ever really had to handle a weapon before. But anyway,
Caleb looks more like security than Dragon does.
Yeah, exactly. We got some more friends that have dropped in on us. Let's see. Bush McFadden is here, of course. Lady V, I mentioned. Alice in Winterland is here. Das Winterland. Some dude named Mark Center.
Backdoor. Backdoor.
Backdoor. Oh man, he breached the back door. Christopher Moonlight Productions is here, our good friend Chris. Joe's Atmosphere, another close friend of mine. Glenn Fleming, I like him. He's okay. I've known Glenn for a while. He's a really good guy. He's got a new film coming out. New book coming out. And then Mark Center writes Glowing Ego. What is that about? What is Glowing Ego?
That's when you pee dark urine and yet you never follow up on the story and tell us, so were you irradiated or not? Oh, I can't talk about that.
Yeah, that's immediately when people say that, I'm skeptical. I don't know. Bush, stop pulling a monkey and trying to derail the show. Shut up.
So here's the omission, okay? I started watching it just like the rest of you guys. Right. I don't watch it anymore, but I do download each one and I send it to my buddy Wolf McCarran. And Wolf told me, and he's been involved in similar shows, and he's been involved in Hollywood productions since the 80s. And he said, and I can't remember the name of the place, I can find out. He said this show is done by one of the top 3 production houses that do all of these shows. And he said, have you ever noticed that the sound effects all sound the same? Because they all use the same sound effect package. They all share all of this stuff. One of my issues when I got into this show was they have a drone and they bring the drone guy in, and the drone guy's trying to fly the drone, but the drone won't fly. It keeps shutting down. Okay, so I come from the Don Ecker school of horseshit. And I say, well, wait a minute. If this is true, then why don't you just drive the truck away from the mesa until it stops affecting your drone? If it does stop affecting your drone, they don't do that. Then in season number 2, they bring a drone back. Hey, guys, the drone flowed just fine with no reflection on the first season drone that couldn't fly. They do this all the time in this show. It's like the previous episode or 2 never happened. And they do this over and over and over. That isn't research, like Don said. That is entertainment. And if you look closely at the show, you will find this over and over and over again. That is editing by omission or lack of memory or whatever you want to call it. But that is a form of editing.
Yeah, linear editing is what I'm talking about when I bring up the editing.
No, I know what you're saying, but it's there to obfuscate, whatever, right? When
Well,
they
yeah, and all those shows that, and I know the production company, I forget the name now, but they've worked on a lot of stuff.
yes,
And in fact, one of the companies that's involved had involvement with ghost hunters, and I caught them several times faking shit. And in fact, after one of the ghost hunter episodes, that was when the one guy quit the show because he was the one who it was a thermal. They were on a farm, a ranch, and all of a sudden, using FLIR, something weird looked funky going in front of the bald, curly Joe Howard looking dude, and he on his FLIR camera, something moves in front of him and it's hooded. No, it's not hooded at all. It's the other dude with his jacket pulled up over his head, and it was obvious. You could see his lapel and everything. And I'm just like, oh my God, this is such hokum. And I got so pissed about that. And apparently other people busted him. Next thing you know, he retires from the show. It was within the season. He was gone. He left.
right.
And I lost all respect for that show. Because I used to be really big into the paranormal. And I'm like, and I've said this about Ghost Adventures too. My problem with all these shows have a tendency of something happening every week.
Right.
And it's like, dude, I've gone into haunted houses and nothing, you'll go through long periods of nothing happening.
Right. That's why I think what Don does. Could there have been things here? I mean, come on, guys. Can I say the Billy Meyer case is 100% horseshit? I can't. I've looked into that case for over 30 years, and I can't say that all of it's horseshit. But I can say about this show is that when the Washington Post guy looked into the book that Knapp helped put out, and there's no evidence in that book. It's all stories similar to Stanton Friedman. It's
Right.
all a collection of stories supposed to titillate you and get you involved in the story. It does do that, granted, but since that book was released, where is the evidence? Not the two globs of light that look like they're from a mirror shown through the front door of one of those dilapidated buildings that they showed. Here's some evidence. And it's like, man, I could recreate this thing in my backyard in 2 seconds. What are you talking about? Show us something. Show us anything. The health things, I don't know. The guy got that thing on his head that supposedly swelled up. I have no idea. Because there's no real follow-ups there necessarily that I would accept as proof. I can't say that. Has something gone on there? Probably. Seems as though. Sure.
Yeah, the things that catch my attention is the aerial activity. That absolutely grabs
let's
my
talk
attention.
about the Blob, Gerry.
Yeah, well, the fact is every single time they launch a rocket, and I think it is weird how rocket happy
Yes.
Travis Taylor is.
It's fun.
But I got to tell you, that's when things get interesting for me, is because every single time they do, and this is because bringing back into paranormal, using the scientific method is really hard to do when you're doing research of things that don't respond to the scientific method. And so scientific method doesn't work there, where you're able to create a theory based off of your first analysis, and then you do some continued research, and for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction, so, when I do this happens. Doesn't happen in paranormal research that way. They've discovered that. And that's why science doesn't really help proving whether ghosts exist or not, or anything within the paranormal realm. Like you guys, I don't believe in majority of the cryptids that are out there. It just sounds like Skinwalker Ranch never interested me because there are people that can turn into walking giant dogs. And I'm like,
Dino Beaver.
I don't buy any of that shit. I do believe that if there's shit under the ground that causes any kind of serious magnetic or radioactive stuff, microwaves, all of that, that can impact the human brain, and you can see shit. I mean, you want to do an LSD trip, get hit with a bunch of different kinds of rays into your brain. and it'll be the ultimate LSD trip. But when it comes to that stuff, I just was never interested. It's when we started having the aerial phenomena around the place. I also don't buy into whatever's underneath that mesa. I believe that it's man-made. I believe that Bigelow fucking left it there and buried it.
But
And I guarantee you it's fucking disclosed to dipshit that bought it.
Yeah, right. Again, as a sideline, everything is supposed to be disclosed. And do you really think they're going to be inviting senators and Congress people and famous people on here without telling them, oh, by the way, your dick could fall off if you come out here? Come on. But that Mesa thing, they keep telling us we've hit something. There might be something here. What do you base your belief that there's probably something under the Mesa? This show.
That is the fake drama. I absolutely agree. And here's why. They wouldn't wait till next season to fucking open that fucking Mesa up. If it was real. If it was real, they wouldn't wait till next season. They would do it immediately.
Yep.
They've got the budget for it. You would call in some people in there to do controlled demolition on those fucking rocks, and you'd open that fucking place up. Absolutely. Or hire a team with bulldozers and cranes, drag it out. Now they're finally doing it. It's like, look, I get how these things work. It's why I stopped watching that Island show.
Oh, yeah.
Oak Island.
Oak Island, because I've just watched the final episode of each season. And that opens my time up to a lot of porn. I watch a lot more porn now.
You
because
dirty,
I stopped
pirate hooker.
But I still respect Travis Taylor because I've read a lot of his stuff.
Man. That guy's running away. He wouldn't talk.
Oh, no. I'm not talking about that. As a physicist, I've read his research. And he's top of the line for what he does when it comes to...
Well, he might be, but he's hiding. He's hiding from his results.
Well, there's no question. Look, I know there's a reason why he avoided Dawn. I don't know what the reason is, but I don't know if it's fear of Dawn or fear of saying too much.
Well, because Don's the silverback, but
I'm friends with Don, so I'm not afraid of him. I love Don.
He was also afraid of the reporter that was allowed to come in for 5 episodes, right? And he's not going to talk to him. What kind of horse shit is that? Your boss, the guy who's paying you to be on this show, allowed this guy in. And
there's going to be a reveal, Mark. You know this as well as I do. It's going to be revealed, the whole wizard thing, behind the curtain. There's stuff behind the curtain. I know that part of that is that asshole that owns it. I don't know, man. There are parts of the show that I absolutely do not think is bullshit, but I think there's a lot of bullshit going on around it.
Yeah,
and,
my issue is that anybody who says, and this is with love and gratitude, Don, anybody who says that some of the stuff I believe is true is basing that on the show that's telling you that some of the stuff is horse shit. So it's like, as entertainment, fine, but like when that last Blob thing, when they lit off the rocket and it explodes, the first thing that I saw was, well, wait a minute. It explodes underneath this amorphous blob, but all the shrap and all the sparkly bits go up through and above the blob at the same time. So I slow it down and I'm going, well, wait a minute. If it hits the amorphous blob, that stuff in essence probably should have stopped and just fell like an umbrella to the ground, but it didn't. And then when Mick West does his thing and he spins it around and says, this isn't there. This isn't there. I think we have something here. Dragon, get your gun. We got something here. Come on, man. Come on.
Oh, good Joe Biden impression. Come on, man. Come on.
I'm not
look,
saying...
there's some hinky shit going on with this dude. I put it right up there with Stephen M. Greer for fucking weird made up shit.
Exactly.
Greer is like, have you ever, like, who was it? That former Navy SEAL dude, Sean Ryan, I think his name, or whatever it is, that has his own show on YouTube. and he had him on, and he's just talking about. And I caught it one day, and I'm like, "What the fuck is he talking about?" He's like talking about all this stuff that's going on under the ground with all the, with the military, and we're in league with the aliens, and I'm like, this is some of the craziest fucking shit. And people give this guy the time of day, and it's sort of the same stuff. This guy that bought the ranch he's a P.T. Barnum, as far as I'm concerned. That's all he is.
Well, why else in episode 1 of the YouTube show with the Washington Post guy, why else would he make this guy drive around with him in his fancy car and show him all the real estate with his name on it and all of his Terminator 2 collection and stuff? It's not about that ranch. It's about him. Come on, why did he need to do that? There was no point in him showing how successful he is, etc. There just really isn't. We're here to talk about this ranch, about the dino beaver, about the giant wolfbane or whatever it was, who gets shot and a piece of it flies off and nobody goes out there to pick it up, etc., etc., etc. Doesn't mean weird stuff hasn't gone out there. When I was doing the alien autopsy and went out to New Mexico to talk to the Indians out there, did they have strange stories? You talk about a drug trip, LSD, they got some strange stories, okay? And I used to talk to Robert Morning Sky a lot. I've met him in person a lot, talked to him on the phone a lot. And
I'm sorry, I just wanted to show you this real quick, Mark. This
Sure.
is from one of my followers on Pop Culture Minefield. I'm not sure how to pronounce that last word there, but he follows us. We follow him back. He says, at Pop Culture Minefield, pretty sure that Skinwalker Ranch has year-round investigation with Eric Bard. CC Brandon Fugel. So, anything on that, Mark?
No, that's new information for me.
Yeah, because I'm not aware of that. I wish I knew something about that. But there's just still, look, when you buy a property like that, I want to go back over this. When you buy a property like that, there are legal issues if you don't disclose.
Yes.
Things. And I'm telling you, Brandon Fugel could not have fucking bought that property without knowing that collapsed system on that mesa, that something is buried under there. There's a reason why there's material there that's used for the making of heat shields on our space shuttle and other vehicles, because that doesn't occur in nature. It doesn't, clearly. But I don't believe it's alien in any way. I believe right from the minute they found it, it's like, well, that's man-made. That's man-made. It was put under there, and then they collapsed the caves. Why did they collapse the caves? Are they burying things that they just left there? I don't know, man. It just sounds like that's the hokum for me.
It sounds suspiciously, and I was very involved with Hoagland for a long time. Used to talk to him on the phone. My mom talked to him on the phone. There's a lot of Hoaglandisms here. Oh, they blew the face up on Mars. Well, why? Well, they took new photos of it and look at it. It doesn't look anything like the old photo. They blew it up.
So it was, look, we need to discuss that when Brandenburg's here. But
well, the whole rocket thing, especially with it exploding, that really kind of got me, because you said Travis is like, well, I've launched hundreds of rockets and I've never had this. I'm sorry, if you've lost hundreds of rockets, you've had rocket engines.
I've launched hundreds of rockets.
Tesla just had one. Come on, Tesla just blew up the biggest one ever made. Come on.
Yeah, he says he's never seen one explode like that, but I've seen rockets that explode like that. It's a weakness that it's not like they put the rocket engines into an electron microscope to see if it's got any microfractures. So it's entirely possible that an engine can fail like that.
I've seen them explode like that at Disneyland, right, Don?
Yeah.
I've sure as hell had some fuck ups with my own rockets. And I was into that, had my solar igniters and all that shit. I was big into Estes rockets when I was a kid. But the weird metal is not really a metal. Well, there is metal down there. The problem is the other material that's concerning. The metal doesn't freak me out. It's the other material, and the other material is clearly man-made. And so Bigelow hid something in there and collapsed the cave system. Why did he do it? Well, I'm telling you, Brandon Fugel knows, because he bought the property from him. And here's the other thing I said, and Don will agree with this one, because I grew up on Scooby-Doo, man. I grew up on Scooby-Doo. There's no such thing as monsters. It's just people in masks, okay? You learn to be skeptical, and the minute that you sell a property, again, you disclose what's in that property. So Brandon Fugel is aware of this stuff, and yet he's not told his team that?
Well, the guy allowed the Washington Post guy to sleep there alone. So why would you do that? If you have guys with swelling heads and they're peeing black and there's dino beavers and there's all this stuff, you wouldn't allow that. You're doing this because you want it to be covered by the various news sources so you can push your Roswell in New Mexico theme. That's why you're doing this. Above and beyond what might be going on there. Again, we can't discount there could be some weird stuff that's gone on there. We don't know. But all this other stuff, it's Barnum and Bailey horse shit.
Yeah, and well, I just go straight P.T. Barnum, because P.T. Barnum was the hokum guy. He was the king of hokum. Right. The Fiji mermaid, all that shit. Here's what I will say this. The aerial phenomena, that's the only thing I engage with on this show. I find it interesting. And I will say this again, that with the scientific method, it is difficult to use the scientific method with anything.
Well, there was one thing that happened out there that I would have been fascinated to be a part of. And it's actually this is several years ago, when they brought Linda Moulton Howe in, they had a cow out there die mysteriously.
And then there was a UFO right above it when it happened.
Yeah. And I was a lead investigator, and I've told you guys this before, on 2 cattle mutilations back in 81. And that I found intriguing because it apparently happened during the daylight. There was nothing unforeseen observed by anybody. The cow was there 1 minute fine, next minute dead, mutilated. I mean, hey, there was some weirdness there. But then, of course, they turned it into another 3-ring circus with all the crap surrounding it. So, their conclusions finally, hey, I distrust it all.
I forgot to send you this, Gerry, and I call Gerry, and I call you that because I love you. Okay,
I know, buddy.
I need to send you this, and I'll get it done for a future show.
All right, I'm checking it out now. Oh man, sending me dick pics, you nasty bastard!
Some backdoor action. In the 90s, I think it was the History Channel did probably the best TV investigation on a case of the UFOs ever done. And it was the case in Illinois where this thing flew across like 3 cities, 3 cop districts or whatever they're called, saw this, they chased it. They went out there with lasers and they did all this triangulation and yada, yada, yada. The best thing I've ever seen to this day that they did. And that should be used as the benchmark, in my opinion, where you would show this to this Fugel guy and say, look, you need to do something like this. There was no horse shit in there. They talked to people. They rebuilt in a computer. Even back in the 90s, they rebuilt what it looked like and they showed it to the people who saw it. And they said, did it look like this? Did it look like this? Much like the artist for a cop, right? Oh, his lips are bigger, his nose is smaller. They did this in this show. It was amazing. They never got like, well, we don't know what they saw, but clearly they saw something. The cops saw something. The cops chased something across county lines. And this was the Illinois case from the 90s, and you can find it on YouTube. That's the kind of work that's exemplary. This kind of stuff we're seeing here is, if I see Bigfoot, I'm going to shoot it. Okay, fine. I'm going to waste my time watching these guys, watching Dragon, who you know as well as me. This Dragon guy is a Mormon who did his Mormon thing that they do when they go out and they do the mission. Him and Fugel did the mission together. They've known each other since high school. He put Fugel in the show as, oh, you're my best buddy. Here's a fake pop gun, and you can be in my show. Come on.
Yeah. The only thing I find useful from Mormons is Mormon porn. It's really good.
No,
Boss.
okay.
I like Mormon porn.
Hey,
Is it
boss.
break time? What?
No, I gotta go. So I'm gonna be in the back until I
your
can
puppy.
come back.
Take care of your
Yeah.
puppy.
I'll be back
Spock
soon.
is going to have surgery, so we'll be sending our positive vibes and prayers for him. Okay, buddy?
Thank you. You don't know how much that means to me.
All right, man. Get going. All right, now that he's gone, let's talk nasty about Martin. But no, everybody, please have some positive thoughts and prayers for his doggy. Got a problem. He's got to have his kidney taken out, so he's going to go have some surgery right now.
Oh, my goodness.
And it's the same day. They're letting him go home. I'm like, taking out a kidney and going to send him home? I'm like, I don't want to keep it. But dogs, their bodies act faster, as much as 7 times faster than a human, so I guess maybe same day surgery is acceptable with doggies. But either way it goes,
dogs
we
are
care
the
about his
hobbits
doggy
of
Spock.
the animal world. Yes, they are. Dogs are the hobbits of the animal world.
So his doggy's going into surgery right now. And then, John, you have to leave today, too, after the break, right?
Yeah, I've got a doctor's appointment.
So it'll be just like Chanel running the show.
Yep.
She
So
can really
let's
mess
talk
with
about
us at
this
this
Blob
point.
thing. Let's
The Blob
talk
thing
about
is the Blob thing is something that looks like they caught a surface of something in the video.
Well, wait a minute.
But
What
it looked
about-
like lens flare to me, too.
Wait a minute. What about what Mick West did? Mick West seems to have figured this out. When I sent you guys that clip, and he flips the screen upside down and he says, this is a reflection of the initial liftoff that's in the top of the screen. And he said, one guy on the show, I don't remember who, one of their experts says, I've never seen this on a camera before. And he showed another clip and said, here it is right here. Here's another example from your stupid show of the same thing.
Yep.
And then, of course, I sent you the other Mick West of the glowing globular thing underneath the helicopter. Again, I'm not saying Mick West is 100% correct all the time, but if you watched his stuff, if you're looking for science to try to confirm or deny some of the stuff, he seems to be one of the only guys who's trying to do this. When he finds the graduation balloons in the sky that the plane flies by and people jump all over him and say, oh, it's coming at them at 13,000 miles an hour.
Right at me.
Right. And then they find out, oh, not only is it a balloon, but we found the balloon, right? So he seems to be doing actual science.
So here we go. I'm going to...
In the sky above the rocket, right here.
This high-speed video of a rocket launch supposedly shows an otherworldly blob, possibly a space-time wormhole or transdimensional portal, hovering 70 feet above Skinwalker Ranch and causing the rocket to explode. It's described as the first actual look at the phenomenon.
There is literally something. We're maybe looking at the anomaly for the first time, guys. Yeah, look at that.
The video is only shown in segments. First, we see the initial ignition, which creates a dense bright region. Notice there's some crew and cast members standing in front of it. We are then shown a mysterious blob of light in the sky and told it is something being illuminated from below. Nobody actually sees this, and it's not picked up on any other cameras. We then see the rocket rise up, and a mirror image of the rocket descends from the blob.
Yep.
It seems clear at this point that this is just an internal camera reflection. This type of reflection appears opposite the center, as if the image was rotated about 180 degrees. We can see it's a reflection because it's in the right position, it's the right size, it's got dark patches where the people are, it fades away as the rocket rises, and then the icing on the cake is that we see the same reflection of the rocket. And despite what was said on the show,
Never seen anything like that come off a Photron camera.
It only took a few minutes on Google to find a similar example of an internal reflection of a bright light with the same camera. And of course, the moving reflection of the rocket is that very same thing. It's right there. You don't even need another example. Unfortunately, we don't get the full video. It would be great to see it full screen from before ignition to after the explosion. I've had to patch it together here. I suspect the full video would make it very obvious that it was a reflection. Was not showing it a deliberate decision by producers to mislead the audience?
Editing.
Sad is so, but not entirely.
Yeah,
Hey,
omitting
Gerry,
is something.
we got to go to break.
Oh, is it time? Yep, it is.
Yep.
We'll be right back after this commercial break for KGRA and our sponsor, Fuel Up. Hi guys, this is Gerry from Pop Culture Minefield here on KGRA, and we're leaving for our first break. I hope we survive.
Did you know 75% of Americans are chronically dehydrated? If you struggle with focus, run low on energy, or when it's time to finally sleep, you simply can't, this can all be linked to dehydration, and Fuel Up has the answer. Our proprietary formula contains the finest cellular hydration with the strongest immune-enhancing natural ingredients. The Fuel Up system is made up of 3 different incredibly tasting varieties. Wake kickstarts your day with a jolt of caffeine. Play boosts focus while hydrating your cells. Rest not only helps you relax, but also rejuvenates your cells while you sleep. Here's what our clients have to say.
I really don't miss my coffee, and you can tell the difference.
So I'm going to take it for the energy. I'm going to take it for the play. I'm going to take it, all day.
And it works. That's the thing. It works. We love it.
Take the Fuel Up Challenge now, where we offer a Feel the Difference money-back guarantee. Fuel Up for life.
Hey members, the new KGRA DB app is now available on iOS and Android devices. Gain on-demand access to any KGRA DB programming. Download any show directly to your mobile device to listen or watch on the go. Go to the App Store and search KGRA DB.
Oh wow, we survived. Welcome back to the commercial break. Now for some more Pop Culture Minefield on KGRA. All right, so one of the critiques there is by Carmine. Says Nick West is not on site doing actual science. He's simply critiquing what information he chooses to accept or not accept. Look, he's not wrong, no. He's not wrong.
The same thing can be said about any science, quote unquote, that's being done about Mars data. You're not on Mars either, but they do science on the data, right?
Yeah, I don't think it's an argument. I get it. Some people are very into this stuff. And I'm still, look, no matter what, when it comes to science, I still like Travis Taylor because he's one of my favorite physicists. He has been for years. He was involved with that whole fucking knocking down that other ufologist, Mike, whatever his name is, that said that we never went to the moon. Fuck that guy. I'll never listen to that cocksucker again. And Travis Taylor was involved with showing him, we went to the moon. Here's the evidence. We went to the moon. And finally that guy, Mike, whatever his name is, that fucking ugly cocksucker. I swear to God, I can't think of his name right now, but the minute his face pops up on one of the History Channel shows, I turn it off or speed through it. I don't want to hear anything he has to say.
Come on, Gerry. Tell us what you're
No,
really thinking.
moon deniers, man. Lunar landing people that don't believe we went to the moon are just the biggest, dumbest people I've ever met in my life. You can't go through the Van Allen belt.
No, they're not. No, they're not. The flat earthers are.
Right with them. Right with them. In fact, they're usually like first cousins.
So they're the first cousin on the mother's side of flat earther.
Flat earther.
This
right.
This is exactly why it's illegal for brothers and sisters to procreate.
That's the name right there, Mike Bear. Fuck that guy. That's it. Thank you, Monkey Jeebus. You knew who I was talking about. Ah, man. I swear to God. In fact, a few years back when that happened, I tagged him in a post. I said, if I ever see you at a con, I will punch you in your fucking face. Being that stupid. Nobody, you shouldn't have the right to oxygen being that dumb.
But
I want it back.
But we don't have the technology to go back because we never did.
Oh, shut up, Mark. It is. Look, I believe there's some reason why we didn't go back, and I think it falls in line with some of the shit that Don's talked about.
Yeah.
I just think it's really weird. And I think competition played a part in it. It's like it was no longer a competition. So we lost interest in it. And the competition, of course, is with Russia.
Well, why spend all the time to go back up there to go look at stuff, then spend the time down here to manipulate and take over and get rich and control all of us down here, right? Sure.
Shut up,
whatever
Mark.
it's
scaring me, Mark.
So
we were told in 1972, get the fuck off the moon and don't come back until it's okay.
Well,
why do you think when the astronauts first went up there, NASA and the fucking DOD armed them? They went to the moon carrying weapons. And I proved that in UFO magazine when I directly called up the NASA public relations and directly asked them. They knew when they went up there that they were likely to find another presence when they got to the moon. Not indigenous. In other words, they weren't created there, but they moved there and set up bases on the far side of the moon. The side we can't see.
Well, we can't see until recently.
You want to put a tinfoil hat on me? Do it.
Right. The side we can't see until recently when China went up there and showed us some. I'm sure you guys all saw it. I'm not saying they're going to show everything on the dark side of the moon, but what they did show was, very interesting.
Called the Jade Rabbit.
Yeah. By the way, the flat earthers have used GPS. They've used all sorts of devices using light at long distances. Where you look through a small hole at each other. I can't see you. Well, I can't see you either. The only reason why is because the Earth curves. They've used everything, and still, they're professional skeptics of the roundness of the Earth. They make money off of it, but that makes me hate them even more. Promoting junk science for money.
It's not only do they make money off of it,
like Al Gore does. Al Gore's the biggest huckster since P.T. Barnum too.
Right.
In fact, him and John Kerry. It's a toss-up.
In fact, when my wife got
one of them
out of
fragged
bed this
themselves.
morning, and she said, "What's wrong with the clocks?" And I said, we had a power outage for an hour last night." And and I've infected her clearly. She said, "Climate change, climate change."
Oh my God. Yeah, I love it. Like I would say, man, it's inordinately super cold this season. Well, it's global warming. I'm like, okay, you clearly don't understand climate at all. And I tell people they're not allowed to talk to me about climate unless they know what has over 95% impact on climate. That one of them told me, volcanoes? And I'm like, no. It's called the sun. The sun has a majority control over climate.
Right.
And the sun goes into cooling periods, and it goes into heating up periods. It goes into neutral periods. And that's what impacts our climate the most. And there was an article written in 1978. It was an essay, really, that got published in 1978 when everybody was super afraid of the micro ice age, right? We're going to have this mini ice age and how we'll survive it. And this one guy came up with this theory that we could use greenhouse gases. If the entire planet worked together, we could conceivably, as human beings, increase the temperature by as much as 3 degrees if everybody worked together. If we go into a mini ice age. And that article is what led to this junk science.
And on In Search Of, you'll remember that Leonard Nimoy mentions that the scientists are thinking that we'll put coal dust on the Arctic to stop the reflections or something like that. Blah, blah, blah. Right?
Right.
Come on. And we all know, and this will be the last thing I'll say on this, but we all know that when the main climatologist guy, I forget his name, but when he had his meeting in Washington, they went in there the next day and they messed around with the air conditioner and they made it obscenely hot in that room during their meeting so they could manipulate the people into believing what they had to say even more. And that is a known fact. He's on record saying he did it. He said, yeah, I did it so I could manipulate the people.
Yeah. By the way, Tabitha, absolutely still, I don't care. I love reading his research. I don't read his science fiction, by the way. I just read his research. He's still one of the top physicists working right now. Knows his shit. Let's see. We can't go back because the Chinese won't allow it to the moon. Jeebus. Bush says, we didn't go back because it's crazy expensive and costs human life. We got what we needed. The moon is a dead rock. I don't agree with that. I believe that there are other culminating factors.
I'll just say one thing about that. One thing and one thing only. Helium-3.
There you go. That's the primary reason we need to go back there. And they talk about it. I worked on the film as their comic book guy for Iron Sky, and that was one of the driving forces why the Nazis went to the moon in that movie. Professional skeptics are motivated to uphold their... Yep, read that one. Let's see. Gerry, remember that scary red line that Al Gore showed? By the way, a lot of people don't know this. You know how he finally got approval for the whole ozone thing back in the early 90s? Was he threatened Ted Kennedy that there was a hole over Martha's Vineyard? That was how he got it.
Let me tell you why I hate Al Gore.
Freon is why I hate him.
Go ahead, Al Gore was a Vietnam vet. Okay? He went to Vietnam. Hey, he did.
Really? I don't know.
However, his daddy was a senator. Al Gore, back in the 60s, was looked at by his daddy, and his daddy saw him striving forward to become president. So he went into the service. He was sent to Vietnam. But he was the only fucking enlisted soldier in Vietnam. He was there for like 6 months that had his own detail. Listen to me closely, Gerry. Of bodyguards. He had fucking bodyguards as an EM, which for you non-service people means an enlisted man. Yeah.
I will tell you this. He
got out early.
Yeah, he didn't do a full tour. As a combat medic, every guy I served with was my personal security. They guarded me because I was cold. Combat medics are needed. And so that's the only one that should be guarded.
Guarded me.
I carried a 1911 for a while, too. by the way. I'm just saying, since the show came out with him working for the government, that it's more script. Well, I got to tell you too. This is what I said to Don when he avoided him, and it clearly this bugs me that Travis. It's unprofessional not to respond. It really is. I've messaged Travis Taylor. He doesn't respond to me. That's different. I'm nobody. Don Ecker is somebody in the ufology community. Ignoring him is rude, and it's unprofessional, and that bothers me that he did that. But anyway, show came out with him working for the government that is more scripted than before. I don't know if it's more scripted or less, but this season's bugging me, and I do believe that it's because he now heads up the UAP task force for the Department of Defense, and I think that's why. I think he had to pull back, and it's just my opinion on that.
I'll tell you why he doesn't respond to Don Ecker, and why the guy from the UAP, the guy with Nap, I can't remember that guy's name. I always forget his name. Lou, right? Lou
Elizondo.
Thank you.
Elizondo.
I'll tell you why Lou and Travis don't respond to Don. If Don was on a show like Skinwalker Ranch, Don wouldn't be on that show long. Because he wouldn't allow the horse shit and the omission and all this. He would say, wait a minute. If we're going to dig underneath here, let's finish it. If we're going to open up that pit that had the rock on top of it and the guy looked down there and he started to get lightheaded and things, did they ever go back to that, Gerry? They never did. When they were up on the mesa and they climbed down into the little cave thing and said, oh, I'm feeling a little odd here. And look, all the cell phones have quit working. Did they ever go back to that? No, they didn't. Don couldn't be on a show like that because he would hold up the production and say, we're finishing this. We're getting this little thing done because there could be something here. That's why they're not responding to him. Because he wouldn't be on these horseshit shows because they'd say, we can't have this guy. He wants to do research. He wants to go from A to Z, from 1 to 10. That's not what we're here for. We're not here for that. We're here for dino beavers.
Dino beavers. Soon to come out from another really bad studio as a movie. Let's see. And Travis Taylor was on Christina Gomez. I used to know her and she just like unfollowed me and unfriended me. And I'm like, that was weird. Okay. I know I'm a dick, but come on.
Who did?
I was a dick when you met me. Christina Gomez. She has her own ufology show on YouTube. Very popular. She's growing. And she can get those people on there, but that's because I don't think she's critical. I don't think she approaches things in a critical way.
It's called
She's
DNA.
more of the, oh, wow type. Yeah. And she is gorgeous, by the way. Absolutely gorgeous. But the fact is, you know, if you're really pretty and you do a YouTube show, you're going to get numbers. It's going to happen. You're going to get guys like Monkey Jeebus showing up to look at her boobs. Monkey Jeebus watches us because we are boobs. What was this? Hold on, Tabitha. He's a nerd, but Eric Bard is a nerd too. We're all nerds. And I like that about Travis Taylor. I will be very forgiving for him if he would ever come on our show and let Don interview him. I think it was unprofessional of him to do that. Bigelow still has control. Interesting that Brandon had to agree to continue to do research. No, I'm telling you, he couldn't buy that property. Nobody, if there was something under that fucking mesa, he'd have never sold that fucking property. That's insane to even think that there's something under that mesa that's worthwhile, because it would have never been sold. Tell me I'm wrong, Don. Tell me I'm wrong, Mark.
How can you sell a piece of property that's affecting people's health, affecting their minds? how can you sell a piece of property like that and open it up to this?
What happens in a city when that happens? What happens?
Yeah.
That place is marked off. You're not allowed to go there anymore. You end up with places like Chernobyl in Russia.
Right.
In the United States, they'll demolition and flatten it and dig it out of the earth and build something else there later, or turn it into a landfill. Nobody's allowed to go to. So it's curious, but at the same time, I absolutely know there's bullshit in this, because I've never bought into Skinwalker Ranch with the cryptid thing. I just call bullshit on that. It's like, when people start talking cryptids with me, unless you're talking to something that could be evolutionarily possible, and I'm not talking about like Darwin's theory of evolution with man. I'm talking about Darwin's theory of evolution within nature.
But I gotta tell you, Gary, I do not dismiss the concept that there are weak spots in our environment where another reality can open up and come through.
That's California right there.
That's California.
Well,
there you go.
Yeah. But there are those cryptids that have shown up, okay, that I personally
Mothman, for
think
example.
It's conceivable that they came here from somewhere else. Maybe not for long. And maybe it was an accident, or maybe there are intelligences that can control that. Hey, let's go back to Jack Parsons, Aleister Crowley, and
opening up the gate.
The asshole from Scientology, L. Ron Hubbard. Crowley apparently manifested something called Lamb. We've talked about this, okay? Yeah. As a matter of fact, you even shown the photograph of what the entity appeared as, all right? Crowley. Now, there was an evil SOB, but be that as it may, I think it's conceivable. And hey, John Keel was convinced that there were those crossways from some other reality to here. That was his whole concept of ultra-terrestrial.
Sure, and you can look back at the pyramids in Egypt and all that, and look at some of the interesting information there and the technologies used to move those giant stones and things. Who's to say that wasn't manifested from somewhere else to help?
There's Lamb, yeah.
Yeah, I always look at it.
It's
so creepy looking, and it looks just like a gray. That's creepy.
Yeah.
By the way, I'm inspired from our own show today to watch one of my favorite films of all time. I just forgot his name. The guy that inspired Doctor Who as a character. He was a British science fiction character, professor, and they did a Hammer movie back in 1967, 68 called Dr. So-and-so and the Pit.
Oh, yeah.
And also known as 500,000 Years to Earth. About aliens that landed on Earth that were determined they're evil. And I'm going to watch that today, because that's what this whole Lamb talk makes me think of, is that movie.
Nice. Hey, let's discuss this for a second, because Tabitha brings up a very good point, okay? That somebody like Mick West is taking the video, doing the best he can on that, and making his summations based on that, okay? But let's back up. All of these clips that were released by Lou, what are the people researching to look into that? The video from their homes, from their laboratories. And then you have stories of people who are on the ships and all that, right? But what other options do you have that when videos are released and they're very interesting to look at, than to look at the video and do research on the video. What other options do you have? Discounting the stories, at least for this discussion, you have no other options. You grab the video that Lou sends out, you do the work that you think that you're qualified to do on it, and you come up with something, right? What other options do you have? It's the same thing with Skinwalker. They release the show. You take the show. You take the clips out. You look at the clips. You do your thing on it. I think he made 100% qualified results with that rocket when he spins it upside down and then he moves them apart and together. It shows what's going on there. It shows it. There's no other way to.
Yeah, it's absolutely. Once you flip it over, you realize it is exactly a mirror image of what's going on. By the way, this is the movie I was talking about, Quatermass.
Oh, yeah.
And thanks for other guys. Yep, Andy Morrow, you Brits, you fucking know what I'm talking about. I love that fucking movie. I love that fucking movie. Scared the shit out of me as a kid. Great film. I'm going to watch that today. We never did thank Darius Munchausen for his sticker earlier. $4 super sticker. I know what it is. It's coffee and a pear. That's what he does. And for you, sir, I'm going to get you a quick video. This is something we don't hear enough on this show.
Those sons of bitches.
He's our backdoor man.
That one, and you get this video too, Darius.
Now I swear, the next one of you primates even touches me.
I love that movie. Army of Darkness. I love all three films, but it is my favorite.
Did you see the new one?
The series? Yeah, I did.
No. The new Dead movie.
No, I'm not going to watch that.
Oh my goodness, man! Off the hook, unbelievable.
My problem is I get so tired of neo-feminism, and it's like the entire cast, but a kid, are all women, and I'm like, look, man.
I guess I would.
I don't mind when that happens naturally, but when nothing feels natural when they're doing it anymore. It feels pushed forth.
See, I didn't really get that. I kind of like The Descent was an all-female film where they go down.
I love that film, but that felt natural.
Well, since you haven't watched it, Mr. Ignorant, it kind of
Fuck you, Mark.
It kind of feels like that, where the woman from Australia who plays the main role, who was told by her agent, you just don't have the look, and you should be thankful for whatever work you get, you ugly bitch. She does an amazing job in the film, and it's all
right, Mark.
Practical.
Mark. Look, Mark. I got to make up something about you. No, hold on.
It's all
you self-righteous bastard.
That's
I'll
right.
watch the damn movie. I'll watch your fucking movie.
Look, if you want me to send it to you, I will. It's all practical. They did a great job in it, and there's no humor. That's one thing missing for us fans. There is no humor in it, but I thought it was okay.
All this talk is making me pine for a hug. I need a hug.
The problem with it is this: it did fairly well on the budget that they had, and the producers, which would be the director of the original, and our favorite Chin, said that we want to make it into a universe now and have an Evil Dead movie every 2 years. Come on.
Now Anima gets it too. It's like, my problem is, it seems like every movie that's coming out right now is girl power. And it's just like, come on, just give me a good story. But if you're telling me it's a good story, I'll watch it. Because that's my frustration, is I get tired of the overly didactic shit. I just want to watch a film and have some escapism. I want to escape for a little bit.
Didactic, Don. Don, he said didactic. Woo!
I don't know why we're friends sometimes.
Well, look, they just put out a new Atomic Blonde with a shorter person with a big ass. She did pretty good in it, J-Lo. Don loved the movie. I liked it okay. It's forgettable, but that's a girl power.
The mommy.
Yes, and the 12-year-old girl in it gets to blow a guy away with a shotgun. So it depends.
Nice.
I guess it depends on how you put the movies together and all that.
I love women killing men. That's the kind of film I want to see.
Well, like make them die slowly. The Godfather of those sorts of movies. When I don't like the Marvel films anymore, but they had those two that ended the season or the phase 3, those two movies, right? What were the name of those? The two movies that ended phase 3. The big movies, the biggest ones in the world. They made like $100 gazillion each.
Well, you're talking. The last one for me was not Endgame. The last one for me was the previous Avengers film.
So in Endgame, the joke was this, and I'll say this because we're not on TV, but when they had that scene with all the ladies, and the joke was vaginas.
The A-Team, the A-Team scene.
Right. That could have been thought as, we have a problem here. Not a problem with strong women who can run a movie and such, but the shoehorning of this stuff in, and look where we're at now. Disney is less than 50% of its stock now. There's a reason for this, folks. There's a reason for this.
Well, Bush says it right here. Bush says, Gerry, Infinity War girl power scene versus Endgame girl power scene. Absolutely. Infinity War was a better film, done better, done smarter. So it's not insulting to the intelligence when you see it. This seriously happened in a packed movie theater when we saw Endgame. You could fucking hear people react to the girl power scene going, oh. You can hear that, oh.
Yeah, because of the way it was done. Not that it was done, but the way it was done.
It's insulting, and it's just like, oh. And these were grown people, not kids. These were men and women going, oh. And I turned when I heard it, I was like, oh man, I'm not the only one that thought that was dumb. Okay. Read my post, Mark.
Y'all need a female on this show, okay?
No, look, I've invited a lot of females onto this show, including Christina Gomez a long time ago. She just chose to ignore me. Because I like, and this is something that Mexican Iron Man has complimented about how I manage things, is I try to make it as diverse as possible. People choose not to come onto the show. And I'm like, that's their choice.
One of the big
my wife thinks it's because of your potty mouth, Gerry.
Fuck Vicky. No, I'm just kidding.
It has a little, I say the potty mouth has more to do with the algorithm than anything, but
we're shadow banned because of my language. I know it is.
The issue is this: when you have Don Ecker as a co-host, you are going to scare people away because people don't like that kind of research. They just don't like it. They want stories. They want cool stories. MUFON, a perfect example. How often is Don invited to be on MUFON? Not in a long time. They want stories. They want people who are going to tell you about the intergalactic war that's going on right now, right? When I met with Hoagland in the 90s and I paid my $25, same one I paid the $25 to see Sean David Morton spew his stuff. So I go see this guy. It went till like 1 a.m, if you can believe it, because Hoagland just goes and goes and goes. And he had a lot of cool stuff, okay? I didn't take notes. How can you take notes in a dark room for 4 hours? So I go home and I write up a report on it as best I could. And this was like 97 or 98 or something. And the internet was available at that point to some extent. And I sent it to him as an email. He called me and he said, well, I know you said you didn't take notes. Some of the stuff you got wrong. But I got to tell you, Mark, this information was really only for the people who paid the money in the room. That right there. And that is a quote. That is 100% honest right there. That right there told me this guy is just another one of them. He just wants to hear himself prattle on, because he was telling us that there is an intergalactic war going on right now in our skies. Do I know that that isn't the case? No, I don't know. But do know the case that he told me I shouldn't have shared that to non-paying customers? Hey, Hoagie, F you. I'm out.
I'm out. Let's see what else we got here. Let's see. In game, they all pose and look. Yeah. I just don't even want to. I know what you're saying, Bush, and I agree with you 100%. I could hear people rolling their eyes. So let's see. We've got half an hour left. Man, I just got a notification for a bunch of people's birthdays this week, dude. A lot of us Tarans out there, man. I cannot believe I've had more birthday notifications in the last week than I've had in a couple of months on Facebook. So is there an inordinate amount of people born in May? Mark Center, your thoughts?
I don't care.
I don't care. All right, so let's look. I think that as a UFO investigator, Travis has been knocked down quite a few pegs. And I think that it's odd that this is happening on the show while he is the head of the UAP research for the Department of Defense.
Look,
I think it's
what
really
purportedly is all this horse shit about? Okay. All right. This is how I see it. Okay. I've been sitting here with my mouth pretty much shut, but now I'm going to open it.
No, you haven't. Now open it.
Yeah. You ready? Okay,
Yeah,
look, human beings, Homo sapiens sapiens, our species has been on planet Earth for at least 250,000 years or more. I personally gravitate to the more, all right? We have no concept, none, what went on in the past. Jesus, we don't even know who killed President Kennedy, and that's been in our lifetime, okay? Nobody can agree on that, on who actually killed Kennedy. There's been the official, story, which is pure horseshit, Just looking at it, if you use logic, okay, logic, which is not used at all today, that will tell you that the fix was in. But be that as it may, people have been looking up into the sky and have been seeing things since day one. Egyptian papyrus documents detail the ancient pharaohs during battle time watching flaming shields overflying the battlefield. Okay? Simply a historical note. Alexander the Great, when he was invading the Persian Empire, going all the way to Afghanistan and India, from fucking Macedon, Greece, observed things in the sky. People have wondered what they are. Now, 2,000 years ago, everybody kind of figured, well, it must be the gods. But more recently, all right, especially in our time period, starting in 1947. So the whole thing has been to figure out what is really going on. Now, the United States government, because at that point, there was no power on earth more omnipotent than the American government, hid the facts routinely, went out of their way to destroy, literally destroy people's lives that were willing to come forward and talk about whatever it was up in the sky and sometimes coming down on the ground, okay? And entities climbing out of these objects and in some cases interacting with human beings. This has been the thing. Now, You go to things like Lou Elizondo and Unidentified with his buddy Chris Mellon, his other buddy Hal Puthoff, Tom DeLonge, for Christ's sakes, Blink 182, rock and roll. Who the fuck gives a shit about Tom DeLonge? And that ilk. Now we've got Travis Taylor and this horse shit out at Skinwalker Ranch. The bottom line, gang, they don't want to solve this. They don't want to truly know. Number one, because if you get right down to the crux of it, and hey, I've been digging in this shit pile for decades. I'm telling you right now, if you knew some of the real facts, it would scare the bejesus out of you. I am working on a paper, although it's been sitting fallow for a month or so, on the real story behind the Disclosure Project. The idea of forcing the government to come forward with what they know. Never going to happen. Never in 1,000 years. Unless those guys in the sky land in the middle of DC or Chicago or LA or Seattle or Houston. That's the only way it would ever even begin to happen. So the status quo, keep them guessing, keep them bullshitting along. And the bottom line is sit back, watch your TV, listen to our government line and be happy. Eat some more fried food. Have a Miller Lite beer or a Bud Light.
John Carpenter's They Live. If you remember that movie.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Buy more food.
The bottom line. That's the bottom line.
Yeah. And by the way, you brought up a bunch of stuff. This was another one that's always I've always been curious about, is Emperor Constantine seeing a lit crucifix at night in the sky.
Well,
and changing Europe forever.
It's called controlling the herd. Okay, giving the herd something to follow.
Moo. Moo. I'm a cow. Moo.
Well, how about something a little more new that was seen by thousands of people on multiple Sundays, which would be Fatima.
Oh yeah, the sighting in Fatima. Yeah.
Now I have no idea what went on there, but we have
Did
photos
you grow up
of
Catholic
that.
too, Mark? Did you grow up Catholic?
The wife did. No, the wife did. But we have photos of that. We have.
I love that. That makes my wife crazy when Mark says the wife.
The wife.
I say that with respect, Gerry. Anyway,
hey, I'm the one that said something. Why are you going at me?
Well, because you look a little like David Letterman, and I think you know what I'm saying here. And I've got respect for you and none for him anymore, because he got his FU money and said, I think I'll let the real me come out now. So in the 80s, I loved him.
I called him a douche from the beginning.
Well, I loved him
liked
in the 80s.
Letterman. I liked him when he was a stand-up comic.
Okay.
I don't think he's very good at interviewing. Johnny Carson was so much better than him.
Oh, sure.
And Craig Ferguson.
Oh, Craig was my hero, man. I love that guy.
And he's coming back. He's coming back to late night.
Oh, really?
There's hope for late night. Yes. Sony is bringing him back.
He was great because during all the Trump craziness, his goofiness, I loved it. It's just so goofy, and God, I really like him, and I like his movies. He's made like 6 films, and I've seen them all.
Yeah,
so,
the hairdresser one is my favorite.
Yeah. And the one where he grows the pot, where he grows. Yeah.
That is actually, by the way, the movie that brought into existence Dr. The same actor plays him in that movie, comes back, and he's played that doctor ongoing on the BBC.
Oh, okay.
And he's had like 15 years of that series.
Now, in the private chat, I sent you guys a list of the videos for the UFO case that I talked about that the History Channel did the research for. And I sent you the website that has a bunch of that information. If you want to actually talk about real research done with firsthand interviews.
Let me watch this, and then like next week, if you'll come back, if you're feeling up to it, let's go into these videos and this stuff. This would be kind of fun.
I always point folks to this. I say, if you want to see something done right on TV, this is the case. Now, there could be more. I don't know. But as far as an early case where they recreated stuff and showed it to the people, unlike Jaime Maussan, who would show the video, or as he says, the video on TV and then ask for people to come out after the fact, that's not the way you do it, Gerry. That's not the way you do it. You don't put your information out there and say, so who saw this? I did. No, you don't do it that way. So these guys built all the evidence, quote unquote, went and talked to people and said, is this what you saw? And then they would tweak it around. Just like I said, the guy who does the artwork for the cops, his nose is bigger, his lips are smaller. They did it that way, like Don Ecker would do. The reason why Don Ecker will never have a show.
Hey, I gotta mention something, guys. And I've been sitting here, well, actually not just here, but other places. I very seldom ever hear anybody mention the O'Hara case.
Oh, yeah.
You guys know what I'm talking about? Gerry, do you know what that is?
I'm not sure I do.
Chicago O'Hara Airport case. About 15...
yes. The witnesses, like an abundance of witnesses. Like this thing right over the tarmac, right over the that part of the building they were in. That went out
suddenly shoots straight up into the sky, leaving a perfect cookie cutter hole in the clouds.
Yeah.
Now that is a case that everybody should be aware of today. This happened over a freaking international airport, witnessed by not only the radar controllers, the traffic controllers, pilots, people on the ground. Okay. This was an astounding case. Yes. And it's virtually forgotten. Nobody even, well, I bet you more than half the audience have never heard of it. Or if they did, they kind of dismissed it.
Yes.
I read about it, saw a little documentary about it, and I'm like, holy shit. I mean, cases like that don't get much of the public's attention blows my mind. I mean, that's massive what happened there. And nobody talks about it.
Now with the new interest, with the gimbal and all that stuff, if that was to happen now, it would. Problem is that these, let's call them grifters, maybe they would grab a hold of it and then, produce their own results or whatever. But I'd say, Don, that's a great case to show a newer case that should have gotten the same respect and investigation as the Illinois case that I shared with you guys. It should have. I forget the guy's name. He wrote a report on it, Don. He's been around forever. He's a shorter guy. He's probably like 85 now. His name escapes me for the moment.
Yeah.
He's got a mustache. Very well respected guy. He wrote an extensive report on this thing that you can find on the web. And he basically said, I don't know what the hell we're looking at here. I have no clue what's going on.
Well, here. I'll give you another example, another case that I personally, and it's going to sound like I'm polishing my apple. Maybe I am. Okay, I'm fucking polishing my apple. But STS-48, there is a case that should have electrified the freaking world, okay? Because it happened in outer space, near Earth orbit. It happened with one of our space shuttles. It showed not one, but literally at least 3 unidentified flying objects. One was apparently fired upon by some space-based weaponry, I think as a result of Ronald Reagan's Star Wars initiative. But regardless, And these craft took amazing, violent maneuvers to get out of the way of the weapons firing and then circled back around. I mean, it was an astonishing case. Now, I broke that on NBC and then on CNN. And it's when I was still the director of research at UFO Magazine. My wife, Vicki, was the executive editor and publisher. And we highlighted that case. We expected, after all that TV appearances, that we would hear from news organizations all around the globe. Because back in those days, CNN, Larry King Live, went worldwide. Okay, CNN went around the globe. Not one inquiry, not one, all right, from anybody. Now, what makes this doubly amazing is the day after I was on Larry King Live highlighting this case, the channel that had been beaming live video from outer space during these missions was suddenly encrypted by the Pentagon. Okay? They locked it down. Since that day in June of 1992, you have never seen anything else from outer space that was not either censored and critiqued by NASA or the DOD, or you just don't see live shit anymore. It's not sent down to Earth for that very reason. So, hey, for whatever it's worth.
No. You know, and look, we don't get to see people, shine their apples on camera very often. That was really nice. I like the way you shine.
Oh,
Don, you have a request?
Sons of bitches.
Those sons of bitches. I got to tell you, you brought up something about these artists that work for, law enforcement. A lot of people don't know that was one of the jobs that I tried to get for a long time, and but they wouldn't take me on because every single time that someone would describe a character to me, I draw them like that, and they just said, "We have no use for you. You're not helping us."
So Don,
drawing I did.
The name of that guy who did the first best report on the Chicago O'Hare was Haynes.
Richard Haynes.
Yes. So in the private chat,
was there any photos or anything from that day?
Yes. There's a photo of the hole that was left. Not
the cloud. That's right.
I'm not sure if there's one of the craft itself, but I know there's one of the holes.
Well, I've got no doubt that the FAA's got those radar tapes.
Sure. So I posted a few things in your private chat that if you want to look into the Chicago thing, that you can take a look at it. Again, the Chicago case and the Illinois case, both of those good examples of how we hope research would be done on TV and off TV. We would hope that they would want to do it this way instead of what we're seeing with ghosts and Bigfoot and the like.
Yeah,
I'm looking at another photo that purports to be from that day of something over one of the buildings. And I don't know how true that is. But I'm curious, next week I'd like to spend a little time on some of this stuff. Let's talk about O'Hare plus the stuff he shared today with the Illinois UFO January 5th, 2000, The Edge of Reality by Daryl Barker. Is he the guy amazing. From MUFON?
I'm not sure about his. That's what I found quickly, but I know that the History Channel, I think, or Nat Geo, somebody else did a show on it, which I couldn't find to post today. But if you go up and use the information I've sent you to focus your search, you'll find the stuff. And every time I share that with folks who are interested in this, they all come back and say, my God, how come we don't see more investigations like this? And again, it wasn't based on any video, only firsthand remarks and the transmissions on the radio by the cops, and then recreations. And yet you'll be completely swayed by it. Now, maybe it's manipulation. Maybe I'm an idiot. I don't know. But I was completely swayed that, come on, 3 cop departments chased this thing across multiple counties. Lots of people saw this thing. Come on.
Definitely. We're coming up to the end of the show here in a few minutes, and I wanted to invite our regulars, if they wanted to join us. I'm sending it into the members group on Twitter. I don't know how long we'll go, maybe just a few minutes, because I've got a bunch of stuff I got to do before the next show. And our afternoon show was originally supposed to have our my buddy John Andrews, who is with the second ID during the battle from Mosul back in June of 2004, which I wrote about with Dale Dye in the script for City of Fires, what the name of it was, and the true story of the first Stryker Brigade that went out on the day that all those bombs went off in Iraq, and everybody went into lockdown. What one unit went out, and they took back Mosul, and they took back a mosque and the police station right across the street. And it was an 8.5-hour battle, which means there was probably about an hour of actual fighting and a bunch of sitting around going, you think they're still in there? It was like, somebody stick your head up out of the air guard hatch. See if they shoot at you. Yeah, they're still in there.
I love war stories. Ooh.
But he was supposed to be there today, and but he had an interview, and he's not going to be able to make the show this afternoon. So it's just going to be Don and me talking about stuff. Next week will be Dale Dye on our
We are fast approaching Memorial Day, ladies and gentlemen.
And that's why he's joining, because he's going to be talking about what he's doing for Memorial Day. And he wants to promote what he's doing for fellow veterans, because there's few people out there that works harder for veterans than Dale Dye. He's always busy, and I love that about the guy. And of course, I work for that guy, and he's a great boss. But anyway, that's next week on Dangerous Military Nerds, and then the following week, John Andrews has promised to jump back in there and talk about the battle for Mosul. And that's what we'll be talking about, as well as the rest of his military career. Plus, he's on one of my book covers for Dale Dye. He posed for the book cover, and it's kind of cool that he's immortalized on one of the book covers for Dale Dye, my buddy John Andrews. But anyway, let's see. Mark, you got anything you want to promote before we go?
Don, your gift pack for your dogs will be in today, so check your mail today, and you'll have a little smelly gift pack for your dogs. Yes. No, I've got. Hey, dude, this is the only show I do when I'm up for it, when my health says I can do something, and I hope to maybe be on next week, because I'd love to hear.
I hope so, because I want to go over the stuff he shared today. I'm going to be watching it after the show.
Great.
Tabitha, thank you so much. Look. The way this show grows, we grow organically, like weeds.
Fungus, like fungus.
Grows on you
fungus
like fungus
among us. Yes.
But the fact is we, Don and I, we nurture our audience. We love our audience. We interact with you guys, because that's what this is about.
And pretty soon we're going to be asking each other to send back and forth underwear. So think about that.
Nice.
Yeah, but everybody knows that I go combat.
Gerry, can you address this, please?
Dangerous Military Nerds is also here. If you have subscribed to our channel, it starts at 3:00 right here on our YouTube channel. Plus, if you've got the KGRA app, Central Time, if you have the KGRA app, You can watch us or listen to us on the KGRA app. Once again, 3 o'clock Central Standard Time on Wednesdays. And I hope you guys enjoy it. Tabitha, thanks for joining, man. It's really sweet. Rick Roberts, thanks for your
Welcome,
comment.
Tabitha. Welcome.
I want to see more of what Russia, I believe, shot at a couple of months ago. No more info has come out on that. It was a video at night showing a missile hitting something.
Well,
I don't know the video, but feel free to share. I'm going to put the link right here into the chat. If any of you want to jump in for a few minutes and talk to us after the show, you are more than welcome. Right there. There you go. It's right there. See it? There. It's in the chat. But hello.
Oh.
Hello.
We need to go, really.
Yeah, I'm saying bye right now. You're interrupting me saying bye.
Gerry, see ya.
Anyway, thank you everybody for being here. And if you want to jump in, join us.
We
Until then,
love
see you this
you.
afternoon.